Hello all. I thought today we'd take a look at the creative process of writing, which I always find is a very interesting subject. To do this, I'd like to go back several years to when I was living in Australia and I was doing an IT diploma. In the first module of this diploma, I had to give a presentation to my fellow class members, which I must admit I set forth to do this with a lot of trepidation because public speaking has never quite been my thing. But when we were given the job to do this presentation, we were told that we could do it on a favourite subject. I instantly thought of writing when I was given this mission, and so that's what I did. When I gave this presentation, I was surprised at the end of it when my fellow students came up to me afterwards and said how much they had enjoyed it and that they was wondering if they could keep some handouts I'd given out to the class during the presentation, which I said of course you can. The handouts I gave them were involved primarily character questionnaires, which is an interesting way of getting depth into your characters and fully understanding them as an author. In these questionnaires, a character answers certain set questions. Some are quite basic, such as character description, which will involve things like hair colour and eye colour. That gives you an idea of the physical description of the characters. And then you get more in-depth by asking them questions such as what are their favourite subjects at school. So you go back into their childhood. It might even be a child character, but if it's an adult, you go further and ask them questions about their career, what ambitions they have. You also understand their emotions, which is very important when drawing up a character, because there are certain situations where you know a character wouldn't act in a certain way, and so that designates what they're going to be doing throughout the course of the novel, which is quite interesting, I think. And also, it gives you an in-depth understanding of the characters, as I say. And while thinking of this, I recall in my mind a South Bank show many years ago I watched with my dad, which was one on the famous playwright Willy Russell, who was asked certain questions to do with the process of writing and how he came up with characters and scenes for his plays. I found this a good insight into how a writer's mind works, and a very famous writer at that. Willy Russell, during this interview, said something my dad thought was pretty strange. He was asked about these characters, how they were developing in his latest work, and he said something to the effect of, "Oh well, these characters, they can be so annoying, you want them to do certain things and they just will not conform. I want them to do things and they're being a complete nuisance. It really is a bit off." This sounds a bit bizarre, I grant you, but when my dad turned to me at the time and asked me, he said, "Oh, what a load of egotistical nonsense. It's not like that for you, Mark, is it?" And I quickly replied, "Actually, it is. Because that is the amazing thing about writing books, novels. You can have certain situations you think your characters will act in a certain way, and then they turn the tables on you and act in a different way, so the story goes in a completely different direction to what you had planned. Which is an interesting lead on to my next point, which is, this is the important question before you start to write a novel. Should you write out a detailed plan, or should you just go straight ahead and just write? Well, I used to begin with, I tried the first approach, of writing a detailed plan, but I've soon discovered it was a waste of time. Basically because I set out on a certain path and then I was directed in a different path by my characters acting in certain ways, and I moved in a completely different direction. So basically more or less felt like ripping up my plan because it seemed pretty useless. So now, since ever I can remember, going back through times over so many novels, I have not written any designated plan. I might have a basic theme to start from, and then I just write from there and go as the mood takes me, basically, and I find that works very well for me. I hope you've enjoyed this latest video of mine. I look forward to sharing my thoughts with you again next time. Thanks.